What's up, y'all? Anderson here, and today I'm going to be diving into athletes retiring from the sport either when they exactly want to, or maybe they're kept in the sport a little bit longer than they planned. And this got me thinking because there was an interview with Usain Bolt. He sat down with the High Performance podcast, really long and in-depth interview, but a portion of that interview, he was talking about how and why he actually retired after the 2017 World Championships in London. And this got me thinking about, of course, current athletes who are still competing and potentially are on the verge of retirement, but then also some previous athletes, one in particular who retired exactly when they wanted to, regardless of the pressure. And I don't know, there's different buckets that you might have athletes in. One, an athlete will retire exactly at the perfect time when they want to, at the peak of, quote unquote, the peak of their career. Or you might have an athlete who wants to retire, but gets kept in a sport for a little bit longer because of fans, of, pressure, whatever it may be. But then you also have athletes who are getting a lot of calls to retire sooner than they would like to. So first off, with Usain Bolt, he said that he wanted to retire after the 2016 Olympic Games, his third consecutive Olympic Games where he won, the sprint triple, 100, 200, and 4x1. But sponsors, fans, the community, they wanted him to compete at the London World Championships and retire after that. So that was a pretty interesting kind of revelation. And again, he sat down with the High Performance podcast and he was able to speak a little bit to this.
So my last race, I wanted to retire after the Olympics in Rio. But sponsors, fans, everybody was like, it's in London. Please come, please come.
Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the London community is packed with Jamaican and Caribbean fans across the board. So it makes sense that they would have wanted to see him at least one more time before he actually ends his career. On top of that, London is kind of like Usain Bolt's second home. It's a very, very special place for him. Of course, the London Olympics in 2012, he set the track on fire, winning that sprint triple. But then also throughout his career, he had amazing performances and really showed a lot of love to London. I think looking back in 2011 and 2012 were the only 2 years out of his, career from like 2008 all the way to 2017 that he didn't run in London right before the World Championships or the Olympic Games. Even think back to 2015, the London Diamond League that year, right before the World Championships, Justin Gatlin was going crazy and people were kind of questioning Usain Bolt. He came there, he ran like 9.8 or something like that, and everyone knew, okay, he's ready, he's going to be good. So London is a very special place, but let me finish off here.
That year, I lost one of my very close friends to a motorcycle accident in April. And it really was with me for a while, and I didn't train. I was sad, and it was just drinking and just trying to get past that moment because it was just sudden. So it was hard for me. And I remember because every year before I go to a championship, I go to see my doctor. And he said to me, do not go to the World Championships. If you compete at the level I know you're going to compete, you're going to get injured. Do not go. And I was like, I have to go because everybody bought their tickets. Everybody was there to see me. And he was like, it's going to be, and I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm doing this for them. This is the reason I came back because I wanted to retire. This is the reason I came back. And for me, yes, it was a tough moment, but it's still, for me, I don't think it damaged what I've done before because I did for the people, but it's something that I still look and I don't regret, because it was a wonderful moment still. And
so decided to continue for one more year because of that pressure. And even when he spoke to his doctor, he was saying that literally, you should not run. You should not go to the World Championships. You should not compete. He was telling his doctor like, I have no choice. People are telling me that I have to come to the World Championship. This is the only reason I came back this year. Even when he lost his friend early in the season in April, before the season really kicked off, he has to reshift his mindset mentally, physically. He's not training, he's drinking, he's doing all these things. And even initially, he didn't even want to be in this position. So that is a really tough position to be in for even the greatest athlete of all time. He really did, get forced into competing in 2017. And even despite him not regretting it, this is an example of an athlete not retiring on their own terms, right? 2016 would have been absolutely perfect. The only blemish on his career would have been 2011 when he had that full start. After the Olympic Games in 2016, no blemishes essentially. But 2017 happened, no regrets. This did get me thinking about one athlete though from the past where they were able to retire on their own terms despite pressure, despite still being at the top of their game. That's Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, of course, is the GOAT of the 400-meter dash. He won gold in 1996, won gold in 2000 at the Olympic Games. He won 4 consecutive gold medals in the 400 at the World Championships, 93, 95, 97, 99, broke the world record in the 400, broke the world record in the 200. Of course, he has so many accolades, right? But he actually retired at the perfect moment for him to essentially end off with no blemishes, quote unquote, on his career. After the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, he retired in 2001 and went on kind of like a farewell tour. And he actually spoke with the IAAF, now World Athletics, early in January of 2001. And he said, quote, "This is my final season. I'm retiring. I'll be going on a farewell tour, and I am not going to the World Championships." The hint had arrived at the Olympic Games in Sydney in September when Johnson became the first athlete to retain the 400-meter title. First. "Michael, what first do you hope to achieve this year?" came the question. "Nothing," he replied. And so just one quick kind of, I guess, fact check here, but Michael Johnson was not actually the first to retain their 400-meter title. Marie-Josée Pérec from France, she was the first, having won gold in 1992 and then gold in 1996 at the Olympic Games. But Michael Johnson was the first man to actually do it. So just a quick check there. But I mean, this is some context as to someone retiring at the time that they deem is perfect for their career. No blemishes except maybe 1992 when he didn't make it to the finals in the 200. Aside from that, perfect career. And yes, he could have gone to the World Championships in Edmonton. He was just coming off Olympic gold. He was coming off running 43 seconds in the 400 at the Olympics. He was in great shape. Could have won a medal at the Edmonton World Championships. But he's like, nah, I'm good. My career's set. I'm not even worried about that. I'm going to do what I want to do to end off my career. And also slight differences with a Usain Bolt, where Bolt going to London, again, London has such a massive Caribbean community. Edmonton is not necessarily like, you know, some connection that Michael Johnson has to that city or anything like that. Maybe if the World Championships were in the United States, or maybe if they were in Europe, like in Zurich or Brussels, somewhere where he might have a little more connection to in terms of his career. But Edmonton is not a place like London is to Usain Bolt. But that's one athlete, again, ending at the perfect time. This also got me thinking about 2 other athletes who are currently competing, and one is kind of getting calls to retire, but then the other is maybe getting calls to stay in the sport, and people really want to see them continue. First off, Yohan Blake. I think you can all assume that Yohan Blake isn't the athlete that we all used to know him as, right? He's one of the greatest of all time, 9.69 seconds, number 2 all time in the 100, 19.26, number 2 all time in the 200, world gold in 2011, Olympic silver in 2012, both the 100 and the 200. I mean, he has a lot of accolades for the early part of his career. But since 2012, when he got injured in 2013, his career has not been the same since. He's made, I think, the World Championship finals in 2015. He made the Olympic final in 2016. And then I know he was in 2019. The World Championship final might have been in 2017 as well. Someone could confirm it for me. But since 2012, when he ran that 9.69, in every single year after, to this day, he has not broken 9.9 seconds. Except for one time. I think 2022, he ran 9.85 seconds. That's the only time he's broken 9.9 seconds since 2012. And what is he doing now? He's running like 10.2s, 10.3s, 10.4. Like, he's not running great performances that we would know of for a Yohan Blake, considering what his career is like. So a lot of people have been calling and saying, yo, just end off your career, just retire. Listen, we love you. You've done so much, but, you know, it's not great to see you not performing to, you know, what we want to see from a Yohan Blake. And he actually spoke with Sportsmax TV about this exact thing, kind of the injury issues he's been having and those calls for retirement.
There's come a point in time when you understand, even though you're going to have people saying, quit, stop.
Yeah.
But like, those are the things that drive me, and those are the things that they can't tell me to.
All right.
You understand? They can't say anything, but they can't make me quit. I have to make me quit.
Yeah.
You know, so I really use that and see where my body's heading and what I need to do, because I know I'm running the times in training. I know I can put it on the track.
Right.
It's just to put it together.
So as you can see, Yohan Blake is actually motivated by these people and by the community saying that, yo, you should retire, you should quit, you should do this, that. That actually motivates him to go even harder. Now, of course, his goals are potentially going to be slightly different, where maybe the goal isn't to 100% get an Olympic gold medal. Maybe it's just to make the podium. Maybe it's just to make the Jamaican, national team, which he hasn't done in a few years as well, right? Maybe those things are going to shift considering where he's at in his career. But I think that a lot of people have been calling for him to retire because the time times that he's hitting are not really competitive on the global stage. But I do think this is an example of someone retiring on their own terms and not succumbing to pressure from outside forces, from other people, whether it's the media, from fans. Though it doesn't look as great as a Michael Johnson who retired quote unquote on top after winning Olympic gold, this is still an example of retiring on your own terms. But the other athlete that I am thinking of who is still currently competing is Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. And I think this is an example of someone who's still competing, but fans are not asking her to retire. Fans are asking her to, go one more season. You still got it, this, that, whatever. We know her as, in my opinion, the GOAT of the 100-meter dash, two-time Olympic champion in the 100, Olympic bronze, Olympic silver, five-time world champion. She has so many accolades when talking about the 100 and the 200 as well. She actually ran at her final Olympics in Paris this year, right? That she announced was going to be her final Olympic Games. And she is not retiring, but potentially she'll run for another at least 1 to 3 years, at least maybe to Beijing 2027. And she's still running times that are competitive to this day, right? Last year at the Budapest World Championships, she got the bronze medal in the 100-meter dash. She ran 10.7 seconds. This year, even though she'd been dealing with injuries early in the season, she did manage to run 10.9 seconds, I think a couple times, and made it to the Olympic Games, qualifying for the Jamaican team. These are no easy feats. This means that you are one of the best in the world. Even despite her being, 37 years old, even despite her dealing with injuries and setbacks, she still is one of the best. But of course, there have been questions on when she eventually is going to retire. When she said this is her last Olympics, people did initially think that, but she clarified that it's not her last year, just her last Olympics. And there was actually a report from Sportsmax who confirmed that she is still preparing for next year, for subsequent seasons, but she is going to be moving coaches. So they said, quote, five-time 100-meter world champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is set to continue her illustrious track career for yet another season, despite facing significant injury challenges throughout 2024. However, the sporting legend will reportedly do so under new guidance. Sportsmax TV understands that Fraser-Pryce will be leaving Ronaldo Walcott, the coach she helped establish at Elite Performance Track Club. So this is pretty big news considering, she has been working with Walcott since 2020. Once she moved there, he helped her get to a point where she became the GOAT of the 100-meter dash, 4th Olympic medal in Tokyo 2021, 5th World Championship gold medal in Eugene 2022, 10.60 seconds personal best, which makes her number 3 all-time in the 100-meter dash, and she's run under 10.7 on 9 different occasions, all in the past couple years. So this was a really strong relationship, but they continue. Fraser-Pryce, who has been hampered by a persistent knee injury over the past few seasons, made the decision to move on after a reportedly frosty relationship developed between her and Walcott during the 2024 season. Calls and a WhatsApp message to Coach Walcott went unanswered. Though her next coaching decision remains unclear, Sportsmax understands that the two-time Olympic 100-meter gold medalist has moved to put together a team to guide her through the upcoming season. So this is one where I think fans can kind of appreciate that Shelly-Ann isn't actually retiring. She is one of the most beloved athletes in the sport. So many people love to see her compete. So many people love her energy and, everything that she does bring to the sport. And we don't know her motivations for actually staying in. She's, in her mid to late 30s. She's, not running those 10.7s or those 10.6s. That could be due to injury, but she's still kind of in the realm of competitive, being competitive with some of the other athletes, who are currently in the women's 100-meter dash. But maybe there are some external factors that are keeping her in the sport. Maybe she does want to retire and sponsors behind the scenes are saying, you got to stay in the sport. You got to fulfill this contract. Maybe she wants to stay till 2027 when the World Championships are in Beijing, right? That would maybe kind of be a full circle moment where started off in 2008 in Beijing. Now she's going to finish off in 2027 at the World Championships in Beijing. That could be a factor or motivation for her. We don't know the actual reasons, but I do think it's interesting that Shelly-Ann is choosing to continue even despite this coaching change, even despite the injuries. She's going to be running for a few more years. And one thing, again, I do want to highlight differences between Shelly-Ann and Yohan. Yohan is running 10.2s, times that are really not going to be competitive with, the global men's 100-meter dash. Shelly-Ann running 10.9 in the 100-meter dash, that still can make her competitive, especially coming off significant injuries throughout 2024. So slight differences there. So bringing this full circle, why is it that athletes retire? So many different reasons. Michael Johnson retiring on his own terms, no pressure, after the Olympic Games, still in really great form. I want to end off my career the way that I want to. Usain Bolt, I did want to retire, but I got some pressure from fans. I got some pressure from sponsors. They wanted me to continue another year. So I was able to kind of go one more year. It didn't go the way that I planned, but I did actually make that commitment. Then you also have athletes like a Yohan Blake. He's saying, people are calling for me to retire, but I'm going to stay in. That actually motivates me despite the times that I'm actually hitting. And then of course, the Shelly-Ann, though we don't know her motivations, but we can see that maybe, she does want to continue for different reasons that hopefully she'll be able to reveal to us. But it does kind of speak to the fact that, yes, it sucks when an athlete may not retire on their own terms. And yes, there may be times for an athlete to retire perfectly when they, won everything and, ended off with a perfect career. But it's not always going to work out like that. What I do think is that, of course, we should respect athletes and their decisions to retire when they want to retire and not force them to either retire or force them to stay in the sport. Whatever they want to do, we should be able to respect that. So let me know what you think about kind of the Usain Bolt story was the catalyst to this, but all the athletes and in general, athletes retiring when they want to, getting pressure to retire, all those kinds of things. Let me know what you think. Always appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.